Well, this isn't the only crackhead that's being cut off right now.
Don't sleep, man. I'll hit you back. Man, get off my pores, man. Get off my pores, man. Hey, big dog. You get that damn drop, man. Come on out here and talk to me, man.
Yep, I think that's a perfect representation of what's happening right now between the European Union and the United States as Donald Trump just issued a bombshell statement, which I correlated through my many years of research exposing the larger globalist plot that he just kind of exposed to everyone with either knowing it or not knowing it. But this has some larger ramifications as now we got the news of tariffs and a mineral deal with the Ukrainians that Zelensky's going to try to back off of. What's really going on here? Well, let's talk about it as Donald Trump just issued these statements just a couple moments ago saying specifically, the EU was kind of created just to screw the United States over. And that's kind of exactly what was going on here, as I want to argue how this was a larger globalist vision that now finally was created by usurping sovereignty and national freedom. Lots of big things to take away from this little statement that I think a lot of people aren't playing up as how significant it is here.
I love all countries, frankly, all different, but European Union's it was formed in order to screw the United States. I mean, look, let's be honest. The European Union was formed in order to screw the United States. That's the purpose of it. And they've done a good job of it, but now I'm president.
What will happen if these countries or the EU retaliate?
They can't.
Yep. The European Union was largely a globalist vision to not be as dependent on the United States, to be more kind of resilient against any kind of larger national security states against it. But truly what it was a vision of trying to create a one world government. Many people who have usurped the system and taken full advantage of it. Many people that, of course, tried to screw over the American people as much as they can. Many people who believe that there's just too many people in this world and we just have to cull them. All kind of came together in secret, unreported meetings called the Bilderberg meetings. And when you go to understand the globalist kind of vision here, they're perfectly represented by this larger secret society that has been going on in Europe and other parts of the Western world ever since the 1950s. And when you look at the European Union, first let's quantify it. It is something that, of course, is trying to unify a lot of people under a single set of laws and norms under a, quote, supranational authority that transcends national borders. What does that sound like? It sounds like David Rockefeller speaking. It sounds like all these other people that want to usurp sovereignty, freedom, and liberty, as now there is a larger connection with the builders of this European Union, specifically even the euro and their monetary payment system that also is working on a fractional reserve banking system, just like the United States is, as this kind of European Union is a creation of the Bilderberg group, a group that, of course, has been trying to integrate Europe with transatlantic relations since its inception in 1954 at the Bilderberg Hotel. Now, this group has a lot of significance since, of course, there's literal members out there of this group, like Etienne Davignon. He's a Belgian diplomat, business owner, globalist that's associated with creating the euro, the one kind of monetary payment system in Europe that is being utilized and used in there, that he in 2009 openly bragged to the EU Observer was specifically created, in his own words, at the Bilderberg Group, a shadowy, secretive organization where they meet with heads of industries, heads of social media, heads of intel agencies, and of course the corporate media for a very long time also was in attendance, but also telling everyone and gaslighting everyone. The group just doesn't exist. I remember covering this group about like 20 years ago, 17 years ago. I've been going to a lot of their meetings, and they've been arresting me. Literally, I got arrested in Denmark. I got arrested in Switzerland. I got temporarily detained here in the United States for covering the meeting when it was going on in Chantilly, Virginia, with Alex Jones and a lot of other great prominent individuals that have, of course, exposed this group. The famous Tucker, a journalist, also broke this story many years before many of us did, and the work of individuals like Jim Tucker out there that have truly laid the groundwork for us getting a larger understanding of the larger conspiracies that play here do highlight the bigger kind of sinister nature in all of this that is finally now being exposed, as what Donald Trump said here, specifically when it comes to destroying the United States, makes sense. Since the European Union, central controllers, Bilderberg and Globalist, wants to centralize power and control all of this as Europe is becoming more and more undemocratic. Look at what just happened in Romania. There's a person who won the election there, rightfully, and was arrested right away. They're denying election results. They're stopping elections in Ukraine. Journalists that ask questions, that don't play ball with the regime, with the establishment, they're arrested. People in Europe that voice their discontent and their concerns about the ruling party literally have police officers show up at their home. And the European Union is a totalitarian, technocratic, digital gulag state that is surveilling and watching everyone, which now explains the larger disconnect between this government and the European Union government, which does signal some larger troubles ahead, specifically for the European Union. Before talking about that, we wanted to remind people, hey, sign up on wearechange.org/subscribe, lukeandfilter.com. The link is down in the description below. I just released a 1 hour long video, stakeout video that's really awesome, specifically getting into some deeper down the rabbit hole conspiracies that are really fun to be a part of. We started a new series where I literally eat steak with somebody and then we talk about all the crazy stuff happening in this world. Those videos first available for members of lukeandfilter.com. You guys get to directly speak to me through the Telegram channel. I was just speaking to some members. We have 12 plus years of videos centered around making you the best, strongest version of yourself. Only available on lukeandfilter.com. So if you haven't signed up yet, what are you waiting for? Sign up right now. It's more important than ever. 20 cents a day. What are you going to go to Starbucks and supplicate some kind of green armpit-haired yuppie there? Are you going to really do that? Are you going to support independent media, as of course we have a lot of goals that we're trying to achieve, we're trying to reach. We are trying to do on-the-ground reporting like we did back in the day, but it's only possible with your direct support, as of course we work for you. We're trying to do a lot more than what we're doing right now, and we can only do it with you guys getting active and engaged and being a part of what we're doing, and the best way to do that is through lukeandfilter.com. Plus, the chat room is pretty cool. It's awesome to be able to talk to everyone, especially now if you're in Europe. As if you're in Europe, there's going to be some larger problems ahead here, as Trump just announced a couple minutes ago that he will be imposing a 25% tariff on imports from the European Union. That's clearly his statement here triggered some larger actions that they decided to act on during this larger kind of cabinet meeting for Trump's administration. Of course, Elon Musk was there in attendance as well. He was saying a lot of really interesting things as well. But there's a larger disconnect here. There's something at foot here that shows us that we are not the same as Europe anymore. Now, the old administration was very similar to like Europe was. They were trying to arrest people for political thoughts and expressions. They were trying to codify their elections in order to fortify them, in order to make sure that, there's open migration policies like there are in Europe that changes the face of Europe and changes the political attitudes and cultures of Europe as well, that's specifically more in lines with their larger centralized, top-down, communistic, socialistic, globalist vision of having total power and control over everyone. That's the larger disconnect right now, as the United States is moving away from that. They're actually closing the borders. Europeans keeping them wide open for some strange reason. The United States going towards energy independence. Europe, for some strange reason, shooting themselves in the foot, getting rid of their nuclear reactors, and starting trouble with their neighbor that's one of the biggest energy suppliers on the world that they're still dependent on. The United States is coming in here and being like, hey, stop with this war, stop with this disruption. This makes no sense at all. You guys should respect elections. And they just can't accept that someone on the right won, just like they are in Romania, that is setting up to be the next Ukraine. If you look at what happened in Ukraine with USAID involvement ever since 2006, investing money into a larger revolution there, you look at that revolution in 2014 that started off with the first shots being fought off with this larger proxy war between the East and the West here. You look at what's unfolding, you look at what's going on here. Romania is going to be the next battleground state if the United States allows it to be here, as we just got official footage of, the Romanian presidential frontrunner being released from judicial control as he is banned from speaking to the media right now or engaging his supporters or using any form of social media. Yep. That's the Orwellian. That's the central control. That's the communistic state that a lot of the people in Europe want the serfs to live under. And that's essentially what a lot of people are being treated like, as Donald Trump also issued a statement saying that, Ukraine not joining NATO, as he has also made other declarative statements being like, why are we financing NATO? Why are we spending all of our money and they're not? Why are the Europeans getting their money back when it comes to supporting Ukraine, but we're not? Yeah, we actually are now with this larger energy resource deal, as Donald Trump is now looking at the receipts, looking at where all the money's going to, and being like, yeah, we're the United States. We're not going to get screwed over here. The old administration was happy to screw over the United States, was happy to print money out of thin air, was happy to money launder, was happy to give themselves kickbacks. This is a different administration. This is a different day and age, as Donald Trump just announced this.
Our equipment, that would have been over very quickly.
What concessions would you like to see? What concessions would you like to see?
Oh, I don't want to tell you right now, but I can tell you that NATO you can forget about. I think that's probably the reason the whole thing started. And I think, JD, we can say that. Do you have a statement on that? You've been very much involved. I gave him the beauty.
Great. Maybe the hardest question, sir. I mean, look, as the president said, we're not going to do the negotiation in public with the American media. He's going to do it in private with the president of Russia, with the president of Ukraine, and with other leaders. And I think that's how this has to go. I think that...
Yeah, all of this is happening as there's a bunch of European leaders that are pissed off that there might actually be peace here. Now, Donald Trump is trying to secure this peace deal, whether you like it or not, through a resource deal, as he now wants American companies and larger free market capitalistic kind of principles, where he has a lot of American resources out there investing in getting those important resources out of Ukraine. Now, with American infrastructure, American companies being there, of course, America is going to have a larger invested interest in actually making sure that that area doesn't blow up again in a total, full, all-out conflict, since it could compromise their larger energy resource deal. And if Ukraine wants to make sure that the Americans will protect them, Trump said, you guys got to give us something to make us there, to give us a worthwhile situation for us to be involved there. And if we're able to extract resources and give you some of them and we take some of them, we're going to make sure that there's peace in the region because we're incentivized to do so. And then future presidents are also incentivized to do so as well. This says Zelensky now has officially said yes to this larger mineral deal after he, of course, refused to sign it. He, of course, said, no, I'm not signing it. This is problematic. And then he came out and said, I don't even recognize this $500 billion debt. It was a grant, not a loan. I'm not owning you $100 billion, as previously he came out on American television a few years ago saying, hey, give us a loan here. We'll pay it back. And right now, these kind of energy deals, they're not out of the norm, as China did it with Congo previously before. And what will be the larger kind of future here, as a lot of people are now expecting Volodymyr Zelensky to go to the United States to sign this deal, but to also renege on it. And there could be a larger kind of conflict, a larger kind of discontent between Zelensky and Donald Trump, as Donald Trump has already called for new elections inside of Ukraine. The Ukrainians have denied new elections, as there's still some larger questions about an American citizen journalist, Gonzalo Lira, that lost his life when he was under the custody of the Ukrainians, that, according to a lot of people, went out of their way to hurt him and take his life because he criticized the Zelensky government there. Now, what's going to be happening here is the Ukrainians are still coming out saying that they're being blackmailed here. Well, I expect some major fireworks here, as of course we're going to be paying very close attention to this particular story, as we desperately want peace there, specifically for the Slavic people. I think this war has gone on for far too long. As Donald Trump said, this war probably started because of NATO. To think that Ukraine's going to be accepted into NATO when he kind of pinpoints them at starting all of this, it's a kind of a ridiculous kind of assessment here. What will it take for the United States to keep peace there, to make sure that this area doesn't explode and doesn't kind of veer off the cliff as it already has in so many significant ways? Well, I think looking at this larger energy deal, whether you're in favor of it or not, does signal that the United States would give Ukraine security assurances and guarantee that no matter what happens, the Ukrainians will be protected from this on out. Now, that's just the way of the deal. Now, the Ukrainians want it for free. The Europeans want it for free. There's Europeans that have specifically went out of their way to prevent any kind of peace deal here. Why? Well, some of them are just pure evil. Some of them are getting kickbacks. But when we look at the actions of the UK here, they're calling for troops to be sent as Trump's trying to negotiate peace. So the UK is like, yeah, we'll send troops there. That's World War III. You're ridiculous. You're insane. There's a lot that hangs in the balance here, but I think Trump's comments here are right, specifically when it comes to the larger history and creation of the Euro, the European Union, this larger kind of globalist dream that is meant to undermine sovereignty and freedom, which the United States now stands clearly for. And I think the larger European Union was kind of created to bring us towards this type of totalitarian control and to swing along the United States toward this new way of thinking that subjugates people and destroys their personal liberty and freedom. Luckily, Donald Trump won. He's pushing back against this larger globalist vision. He's pushing back against a lot of the tyrannical, anti-democratic policies that do not recognize elections and arrest and in some instances kill journalists because of their criticisms against the state. That is not what America stands behind, and that is not a partner that America probably wants to work with. That's the future. That's the rift, and it's only going to get crazier from here. Sign up to LukeUnfiltered.com. We got a lot of new videos coming for you for members of LukeUnfiltered.com. I love you guys. I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for you guys signing up and watching here, all exclusively on YouTube.com/WeAreChange.